We are cleaning our pecans up here now, doing a little bit of kind of pre-work here before we actually put them in the buckets. Makes it a little bit easier because Well, hello everybody, it's Danny and Wanda back from Pecan Grove. We are out here in the prepper shack now. I've got it far enough along that we can do a few things out here now. It's not finished, but we're getting there. And I had Ms. D, one of our subscribers, had sent me a lot of pecans. And I told Wanda, I said, it's been about to drive me up the wall. They've been in a cooler. I told her, I said, I don't want to lose these pecans because I love pecans, and thus Pecan Grove. God gave us a place here loaded with pecan trees. And I told her, I said, I want to go ahead and get these pecans cracked. So I went to looking for pecan crackers. And I told Wanda, I said, when I was a young guy, I worked at a pecan orchard where they cracked pecans at. And we picked up pecans, we cracked pecans and everything. And they had the Myers pecan cracking machines there then. And I remembered that. So I went online and looked to see if they were still in business. And they were. I knew they were from Texas. And I remembered all the things that the man showed me about the machines and all that. And the price of them was just astronomical, and I'm like, I'm not a giant pecan producer here or nothing, I said, this is just for us. And I was like, man, and I searched the internet, and finally I come across this one right here. Now, it's not anything fancy. I came across this one here, and it's not anything fancy. It's a single pecan cracker. It cracks them one at a time. You have to put them in it. But the reviews on it was good, and it said I could crack up to 1,500 an hour. It says you could crack a little over 1,500 an hour, and they had upgraded the motor in this from 20 revolutions a minute to 26 revolutions a minute, so you could crack more pecans out of it. And it's called the Kinetic Kracker 2 from Dothan, Alabama. Now, we will put a link in the description down below to where you can actually purchase one of these if you're interested in it. But this was the cheapest electric route that I could go that said it cracked both native pecans and grafted pecans equally. A lot of the others I looked at, the commercial machines, said they did not crack the native ones and the grafted ones. Both, you would have to reset machines, and you have to do all that, get new dies and all this kind of stuff to go in the machines. And I was like, I don't want that. I just want something I can just sit here. I ain't in no hurry. I just want to be able to crack my pecans, and I want something that does a fairly good job. And you can see here, I mean, it does a pretty good job. Most of what is busted up is because the pecans, I've had them in a cooler, they've lost a lot of their oil. Plus, some of it's human error because I don't want to get my finger snapped, and I panic a little bit because this thumb, I don't have any feeling in it since I cut the end off of it. So I'm a little bit skittish, and I opted to get the foot pedal with this one, and it's not down at my feet because my hand-eye coordination is so good that I trust my hand more than I do my foot. Now, you can turn it on with a switch. There's an on and off switch right here. On the side, you can operate it that way if you choose not to use the pedal, but when you flip this thing on, this thing just starts turning and snapping, and it says not to dry fire it. And dry firing means letting it snap without a pecan in it. And I'm not used to it enough that I can say that I want to do that, And this, as I touch it, see, it stops and starts based on my hand, and I can bring it around, and if I want to take it real slow, like that, I can. And a lot of it, if something breaks wrong, is human error. But for me, because I just don't want to get hurt again, it does a really good job. It busts them, and then you can come right here and you can take the hull off of it really, really simple now. And then you get your pecan comes out in halves. Now, there is something about the machine. The company sent a piece of paper with it that says, if I can turn this thing around here, I'm going to see if I can do this. Hold on. I'm going to try to hold it with my hand here. There is a piece of rubber right here, right there. It says that if it's under cracking them, you can take that Phillips screw out right there and pull this plunger out of here and take that rubber out and put this back and without the rubber, and it will crack them a little bit more than what it is. Or if you're over cracking them, then you put this back in there, but don't throw it away. And I realize some of these is probably under cracking just a little bit, but I mean, these are very thin shelled pecans, and they come out almost in halves every time. Like I said, the reason they don't is because I'm a little late in the game getting them cracked, and a lot of the oil is gone out of them. But nevertheless, I mean, it's still really, 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 really easy to do. I mean, once you get good at it, you know, you can. And this is a different size pecan here, and it done just as good a job on the little skinny one, you know, as it did on the big old fat one like that. It busted the hull just as good, and I can pull the hull off. Really, really simple, and I still get my halves like I was. Like, see there, they both come out in halves. Not a problem. So it proved to me that you don't have to have different dyes or anything like that, because you still get pecans whether they're skinny, big, little. Because that's one of the things I've been sitting here kind of trying to figure out is, and see, that was my fault because I let it get sideways in there and it busted it up. And if one don't crack the first time, you can run it a second time. Oh, that was my fault. I'll let that one get in there sideways. But I tell you what I am going to do. Wanda and I has talked about this. I am going to see if I can't figure out something I can mount right here and have a little chute so that pecan rolls in there exactly, you know, exactly right every time that it comes around, when it comes around, so that it rolls in there perfect every time. And it don't get crossways, it don't get crooked. So that, you know, like that one. See how that one cracked? I mean, it's like cracking walnuts. It really does do a good job. Okay, one other thing I want to mention to you guys is when you're cracking the pecans, the pecan has a round end and it has a pointed end. You want to put the pointed end to the side the plunger's coming down on, because when it does a much better job cracking when you do that, and you end up with a lot more halves that way. So I figured that out sitting here using it. I noticed some of them was doing a better job than others were doing. That kind of helped me realize that why some of mine were cracking and some of them weren't cracking. I was sticking them in with that round part back there, and when it hits it, it doesn't do as good a job as it does if you hit it on the point out here. So that's why the long skinny ones was cracking so good, is because when you get one of these long skinny ones, it's got a lot longer point on it out here. When it hits it, it does a better job of actually, see how it did that one? Almost perfect. So that's one of the little tidbits that I haven't seen that on any video yet. You can crack them, and then what I do is I put them over into a 5-gallon bucket, and I put the lid on the 5-gallon bucket so that they don't dry out anymore. And then when I go inside and sit down, then I sit and I pick the meats out from the hulls. And then we bag it up, we put them in the freezer. And the freezer, pecans will last for years and years and years. And guys, I thought I would show y'all this since I come across it. I think I'm going to like it. I was a little skeptical when I first looked at it because it just looks too simple to work. But the honest to goodness truth of the matter is, it seems to work without any problems. I mean, it's made out of. I can tell you this: it's made out of cabinet grade plywood here. You can tell by the plies in the plywood here. This is cabinet grade. It's very sturdy, very durable. Now to clean it, I was going to show you this. To clean it, this part here, it just simply pops off of it. It's just a guard to keep the nuts and stuff like that from jumping back out. Now you may have to take a little 3-in-1 machine oil right here occasionally where these parts turn at right here and put on it. If it goes to squeaking or making a noise or something other, you may have to put a little 3-in-1 machine oil on there. But I mean, this just, and what you want to do is you want to snap this on here and you want to turn it. There's a place back here. Let me get this thing rotated around here and get it back. There's a place back. You push it all the way back to the back. There we go. It locks. Back in the back there where it stops at, and then you want to leave it where it's in the relaxed position. Now, this thing I'm going to show you as we go around. You see, this is the relaxed position. This way your spring don't wear out. You want to store it in that position. You don't want to ever leave it in that position right there, because that's got your spring compressed, and that makes your spring get weaker over time. You want to be able to leave it in the relaxed position. It'll naturally turn backwards on its own. That's the position you want to leave it in. So I highly recommend getting the foot pedal. It's worth the money. For me it is, because my hand-eye coordination is so good. I trust my hand. I broke both my ankles in my past, and my feet don't move exactly like they should. So I'm afraid that using my foot, I might not do as good a job as I do with my hand, because I'm ambidextrous anyway, so I can sit and I can operate both of these. You know, it works out a whole lot better. And you'll know, you can drop them in there. I mean, if you want to sit here and be, I mean, you can do it. I mean, a person can spend the time. I mean, it's definitely doable. If you want to do it fast, I mean, you can definitely do it, and you get plenty of pecans out of it. And most of them, like I said, they crack out in halves, and there's going to be pieces. We don't throw the pieces away. We keep them because Miss Wanda's always making cookies and things like that. And you have to chop up the pecans anyway, so you might as well save your pieces. And lots of people only want the halves. And if these had a higher oil content, they would probably come out even more of them in halves. So that's really all there is to it, guys. I come across this, thought maybe it might be something y'all are interested in. Some of you that have pecan trees, we've got a lot of pecan trees now. It's one of those things, if you got like 3 or 4 pecan trees in your yard and you always sitting there with a cracker cracking them by hand, or like I was with a box sitting there for hours on end. Actually, this is the fast part. The slow part is sitting there picking them all out. Now, if a person had a blower system, you could probably blow the holes out. I don't have that. So it's a good pastime for me. I enjoy it. Thank you guys from Pecan Grove.